Next, Sophia Stewart who's a journalist, will be interviewing a computer scientist, fashion designer named Joshua Mudgett. So I'm very eager to see the slides and to hear what they say.
Great, it's lovely to be here. So rather excitingly, when Joshua goes to work in the morning into his design atelier, there's an AI that's waiting for him that he co-designs with. And so that's what we're going to learn about today. So I think we have this here. But rather interestingly, Joshua, you actually went to MIT, first of all, before you went to Parsons. And that's not a very usual trajectory. So explain how that happened.
Yeah, I think I always really wanted my work to have a basis in real tech and science, rather than just being aesthetically driven. I knew what I wanted to do, and I think the only real way to translate it was to first get the grounding in the science, and then move it into the fashion. And sorry, is that my feedback?
A tiny echo, but keep going.
Anyway, I think it's really about. I think the question is, what is it?
But you always said to me that you kind of started with a question when you were thinking about design. But just before we get to that, did any of your professors at MIT say, Joshua, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, right, like, I think with fashion, people are saying that they don't understand the tech, and then in tech, they don't understand why are you working in fashion. And
right.
I'm always
like,
like...
you understand both.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, fashion is the second most polluting industry in the world. And I think there's always like, and tech is what drives the world, right? I think it's... they understand each other, Right. I think when I speak to professors at Parsons and then MIT, I think they both kind of understand that I'm coming at it from a point of interest from both, from tech and fashion.
Right,
so.
And to your point, to a grounding in both as well, having studied electrical engineering and computer science at MIT, and you're still currently at Parsons, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm in my senior year there, yeah.
So should we go to your next slide to get some visuals? So I just did a cover story for Four Seasons magazine where I talked about AI and future of fashion. And, oh, there you go. You have, try it now.
It's good?
Not on yet. I'll keep talking.
Okay.
There we go.
Good.
Perfect. Yeah. So I interviewed a lot of my former colleagues and also people that I'd worked with in Paris and various places. And I said, do you have an AI working with you? And the answer was no. And they kind of put the phone down. But you do. So let's talk about Chimera. So explain what Chimera is and how you work with your AI.
Sure. So my fashion brand, wow, there's a lot of feedback, but my fashion brand, J. Mauger, was kind of founded on this concept of working with science and technology to ask questions of the world. And fashion is just the best way to translate it. Chimera is a collection of different AIs and technologies that we use to...
I love it when the tech goes down.
It's always, yeah. Is it good? Am I good?
Keep going.
Okay. Yeah.
If anything, I'll just lean in. We can use my mic.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. But so it's basically a way of designing with artificial intelligence to assist fashion designers. Oh, that's much better. But yeah, I think it's really a question of what does it mean to design with artificial intelligence? And that's what it started with. And the answer was these crazy new methods of production, and
an efficient method of production too. Yes.
Yeah. It also is really good for supply chain as well because it's made to order. These are some of the collections here.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
And also on the slide you point out that you're using different types of textiles. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So this collection here was a collection where we basically asked the AI, "What is your gender?" And then we made these garments, and they are constructed with sustainable textiles developed by the J. Mauger brand. This one is it's a silicone biodegradable substitute made with okra and jellyfish DNA.
The jellyfish DNA?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
How did you extract jellyfish DNA? Is there
you can buy it online.
You can buy it online.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's like Mary Lou's like ordering skulls online. I'm buying jellyfish DNA.
Marvelous.
Yeah,
so this is cloned leather.
So this is
vegan leather, yeah?
Yeah, it's real skin. It's real skin leather, but it's vegan as well. This is from the collection of, I asked the AI, what is your aesthetic, right? And it says, 3D printed embroidery developed by the
So
AI.
this is literally from the mind of the AI. This is what it came up with.
Yeah, well, it's collaboration between the designer and the AI, and this was the result, yeah. I think this kind of shows the
Very
process.
cool.
Yeah.
So let's say I have, in my fantasy head, I have a trip coming up to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And let's say I wanted to become one of your clients and I wanted to come to you and ask you and Chimera, your AI, to design me a very special piece. How would we start that conversation?
So I think the conversation's initiated with, as we're at Atelier Forum right now, you would reach out and say, I want this for this event. And I would have you give me a series of answers to questions. And you answer them with visual and text responses.
Give me a couple of ideas of the questions.
So the questions are, what is your gender? What's your aesthetic? What's beautiful to you?
Can I be no gender?
Yes, yeah, because you don't answer it from a drop-down menu. You type in your answer, and you also
Right.
submit images.
So it's a free-form input. I'm not doing a form input. It's literally free-form. That's very
Yeah.
important. Okay.
And then for fit, we are implementing body scans so that it's a completely bespoke outfit for you, designed for you
So I'm
to fit
slipping into
you.
my nearest 3D scanner.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I'm sending you that digitally.
Mhm.
And how many data points do you need from me before you and Chimera really come up with a piece that you think this is her?
Well, it started off with quite a bit, but we've kind of leaned it down to about 12 questions, mainly around like what kind of garments do you like and what's your aesthetic and such. And then like you can see here, the bottom box, I believe, is up there. It's like some of the inputs for the aesthetic collection. And then above it is the output for the dress or the two-piece outfit that you see there. And that's
So
above.
talk us from the top to the bottom, what's actually happening there.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's actually, so the top is actually the output 3D model for the garment with the print. The print was made by the AI as well. And the bottom part are actually just the input images that we input for aesthetic. We said, what's your aesthetic? And this is
So
a
you're
collection we
literally
put out.
teaching your neural net based on your own input, based on the client's input, based on what's currently in fashion, based on a lot of, because you have a lot of really interesting influences yourself. Do you want to just talk about that? I mean, the great Rick Owens and Cyberpunk and just some of your ideas there.
I mean, you know, I try to like take a bit of the ego out of fashion, but there's always like the fashion designer in me, and I think that it's, you know, but I think it's really, I always loved like Cyberpunk and different, to really experiment with what it means to be a fashion brand. Rick Owens is somebody who does that very well. Iris Van Herpen, they're all like very inspirational people, but I think they don't ever approach fashion from, you know, a real like understanding of the
Right.
technology, which I think is really important.
And when you say technology, you mean right, oh, nice mic. You mean right from the, not just the aesthetic, but the underlying construction of the garment, the supply chain. I mean, everything is influenced by the technology decisions at each point.
Yeah. Yes, we try to not make any decisions that aren't informed in research and the technology we're working with. We also try to make sure that every decision we make is conscientious of sustainability. I mean, that's obviously why we're working with biofabrics as well as AI.
Right.
I think every step of the process has its own unique research that needs to be done for it. And I think that kind of layered necessity is what puts a lot of people off.
Right, but as you know, all the different stages, you're able to go into that. So let's go back to my fantasy trip to Hong Kong. So what's the second communication that you and I would have with each other?
Right.
So you'd give me some ideas of what you and the AI had come up with?
Well, essentially, I'd send you all the outputs, right? I'd send you all the 3D models, and that's how we do our samples. We don't sew up samples. We do 3D models, and we send it to you and say, this is all the answers we've gotten, and this is what we believe you would like, and you can work, like, I think when we're working with Atelier, most of what we do is like conversation as well. We don't just like give you an output and we're like, hope
Here's
you
what
like
you're wearing
it.
to Hong Kong.
Yeah. Moving forward, though, we have an application that we're launching, which is more direct-to-consumer based as well. So this is a whole new method of interacting with Chimera. So I think.
Very cool. And we should also mention that you're using Python-based, and you're using a lot of different AI sort of constructions there, including the generative, the adversarial network, which we should say was originally developed by Ian Goodfellow, who's now with Google Brain. It's always important to give credit where it's due. How did you decide on what you wanted to use?
Well, as far as adversarial networks, I always thought that they really gave interesting responses, to be honest with you. and they don't have deterministic biases. And there's like a lot of upside to using GANs with art in general. And that's only one of many of the different technologies that we use as this chimera of different AIs. And I think it's that collaboration of different technologies that makes a successful brand, I think.
Right, because it's constantly questioning itself. Because you said you started with a question, and the neural net is constantly asking, "Is this right? Is this what Joshua would want?" It's constantly, so you're literally in dialogue with an AI every time you go into your atelier, which is kind of cool/spooky.
It's a little spooky sometimes. You're not wrong, and I think it's very much like once you sit down and interact with it, you see that it's something that's very human, though. Despite being a layer of many technologies.
Explain more about that, because I've had that experience too. I've sat and watched AIs think and actually go through the process of how it's extrapolating an answer. And sometimes you think, this is so clearly non-human in a really fascinating of the future way.
Yeah. I would say the process is the most human thing, right? Like, this is obviously just a string of ones and zeros. It's a computer. But the way that we have formulated is that we ask you things that are very human questions. What's inspiring to you?
Because you're talking about the human body.
Yeah, it's like when we're designing for somebody, it's the same thing like if you make an appointment with a designer, the questions are, well, what's inspiring to you?
Who do you
what's
want to
your
look
aesthetic?
like?
Yeah, what kind of clothes
Or
do you
what
like?
faults do you want to hide? That's the big one,
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Your outfit is also made by you and the Chimera, and we should say, do we have Lara Tang? So Lara Tang, Lara, would you stand up for us just briefly?
Yes, so this is my co-founder of the Chimera Project, and she's actually wearing this outfit, which we have here. This one.
This was designed by Joshua and the AI Chimera. Thank you, Lara.
Yeah, and this is the first part of our new project, which is the Chimera Project, which started off as part of my J brand, and now we're making a really user-centered, well, I don't like the word user, but it's a very customer-centered product.
I love the idea that, going back to my Hong Kong fantasy, that I could be asking questions and I could be saying, yes, that is what I want to wear, or really, is that what you think I am? Which would be really curious, I think, as a human, just to see what an AI thinks I might be wearing next.
I mean, also, like, if you make an appointment with a designer and you're like, I don't like this, hopefully they're taking notes, right? But nice thing about computers is that, like, if you say, I do not like this style on me, it'll remember.
It ingests that input and looks at it. And talk about the outfit that you're wearing. So you actually asked Chimera what it should design for you. How did that work?
Yeah, I basically did the same process that you would go through, where I said, it asked me where I'm from, what I think is beautiful, and it gave me this blazer, which I loved, so I had it made. And
I see that it has a slight mandarin collar. And what's the fabric that's used there? That's very interesting.
It's an Italian poplin made out of, it's actually recycled plastic. Same as that as well. The outfit that Lara's wearing is recycled water bottles, which...
Incredible.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, our whole thing is like the new system of production that Chimera enables is that, so if everybody has a very unique garment, it's a whole new system of production, which is a whole new system of sustainability within the garment production world. But then we also just can't have textiles that, like, sure, we're reducing waste, but we can't have our textiles be damaging the planet on their own, and like we have to be fully committed to it.
Yeah, you're walking the walk.
Yeah, trying to.
Very good. We have 60 seconds left. Would you go to your last slide? Great. So if people want to get hold of you, those are the Instagram handles that they can go to. And what's next for you, just to wrap it up?
What's next for us? So the Chimera Project is actually kind of new, but right now we are having a lot of fun looking into these new methods of production that is possible by AI. So we've been experimenting with like tiny factories and looking into all new methods of production. And
because you were thinking of setting up a tiny factory in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. And I've seen you having many interesting conversations with people here, so who knows what's about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, most of my time is spent in the fashion sphere, despite being a tech fashion person. And definitely something like this is very interesting.
Different crowd.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to wrap it up now, but it was such a pleasure to spend this time with you the last couple of days and talk to you on stage. Thank you, Joshua.